All right, what's up? Y'all got to do better than that. I just came from the other side of town, and they were much more turned up over there. So what's up? All right, real good, real good. It's good to be here with everybody. My voice is really loud, so I don't know. We might want to drop the mic down just a little bit because that's the way that it is. But it's good to see you guys today. Excited. I walked in. Y'all got boxed lunches, and I ain't get nothing. So I don't know what's up with that. But if there's any more left over, give me one for after this, all right? Hook a brother up. I ain't ate all day. Okay, so it's good to see everybody today. As I said, we're going to talk about some subjects that are going to be a little sensitive, but I'm going to try to share it in a way to where everybody can at least gravitate towards it. So let me start off. It was good to hear the bio, but let me tell you kind of the journey of my life so you guys can understand why I do what I do. So my name is Charles Lee Johnson. I was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, born to a single mother who was a great woman. My father was a good man but had a bad habit. So my biological father was an alcoholic, moved from alcoholism to heroin and from heroin to crack cocaine. So for most of my years growing up, my father was a crackhead. Was just always not happy about who my father was. In fact, a lot of times I'd be on the bus, people would look and say, Charles, that's your dad. And I'd be like, no, I ain't got no dad. Even though that was my father, a lot of times he couldn't find the vein in his arm, so my father would pull down his pants in the middle of the street, pop the needle in his behind, and everybody would see that that was my father. My father, though, was a good man when he didn't use. So when he was not on drugs, he was a good guy to me. But he was very abusive to my mother. In fact, at a very early age, I watched my mother with broken lips, busted lips, broken nose, scars above her eye. In fact, if y'all were to meet my mother today, my mother has a scar above her eye from my father cracking a bottle across her forehead when she was pregnant with me. And my father continued that type of abuse until I was about 5 years old. And one day my mother looked at me, she said, you know what, we're moving away from your dad. By the time he comes home tonight, we not gonna be here. And I said, all right. And she said, if he ever finds out where we stand, I'm gonna kill him. And I'm like, dang, you know, Mama, you okay? You know, that's a little too far, right? But my mom, you know, I'm thinking she's kind of joking, like she's not really going to kill him. My mom was one of those real ghetto mamas, like, no, I'm seriously going to kill him, right? If he finds out where we stand. We moved you guys to a one-way in, one-way out apartment, which meant that there were stairs up, stairs down. That's the only way in and out of that apartment. We went to first stay with my aunt and my uncle. We got kicked out of there, went to go stay with my grandmother. Out of there, my grandmother was an alcoholic as well, so we didn't make it there. Finally into our own apartment. We get in this apartment for 6 months. My father doesn't find out where we are. But one day there's a knock at the door. And I'm like, who is it? And he's like, it's Charles, it's your daddy. I'm named after my father. And so I'm like, Dad, I'm excited because I'm a little kid, right? My mom is like, oh no, he can't come in here, right? And so my mom and my dad are going back and forth. My dad finally says, Joyce, either you open up this door or I'm going to kick down the door and I'm going to come in, right? My mom is like, no, I'm not opening up the door. My dad, true to his promise, kicks down the door and comes in. My mom, true to her promise, who said she was going to kill him if he came, grabs a knife, and now she's going back and forth with my dad. My dad, who had beat up my mom many other days, this day was not successful. He went to try to wrestle after my mom to try to slam her. My mom went back, came back forward, and she stabbed my father in the corner of his face. That knife was stuck in the side of his face. She ripped it down diagonally and cut his face open diagonally. He grabs his hand, you know, grabs his face, sees the blood on his hand, reaches behind himself, pulls out a pistol, and puts his pistol to my mother's head. I was 5 years old. What do you do when you're 5 and you're watching your father holding a knife, okay, or holding a gun, your mother holding a knife dripping with your father's blood? What do you do? Anybody? Okay, cry. I did that. I did that. What else? Yes. Okay, run to a neighbor's house. That was a thought in the mind of trying to get out. I'm going to tell you guys, I was so scared, okay, that my legs were weak. It was like I couldn't move. So I was frozen. Probably something I should have done. My man. Pray. Pray. Yeah, my brother, I prayed a whole lot after it, okay? During the process, I probably should have prayed. I sat there, you guys, and although they were both telling me different things to do, I never moved. I sat there, stuck, not knowing to call the police or anything. My mother looks at my father and says, you know, if you're going to shoot me, but I'm not running from you anymore. And so my mother's just staring at him with this gun. And finally, she reaches forward, she snatches the gun out of his hand, turns it backwards, and beats my father's face in with the back of that gun. Last time I saw my father, 5 years old, was when I was 21 years old, but when I was 5, was him laid out on the ground, teeth falling out of his mouth from her hitting with that gun so hard. Blood all over the place. No police called, no social worker, no probation department. Every day I just walked over that blood stain to go to school. That was my orientation into kindergarten, first grade, all of that. After that, you guys, my father disappeared. Never saw him again until I turned 21. Drugs had eaten up so much of his brain that he couldn't think or do for himself. So now, my mom moves on. We move on back with my grandmother. And now we're living there. And my mom comes home one day. She said, you know what? I got a boyfriend. I really like him. We're going to go over to his house. And I'm like, Mama, you don't need no man. You know, I'm like, Mama, I'm your man. Right? And she's like, you know, no, I need a man who could do some things you can't do. I'm like, Mama, what you trying to do, right? You know, but that was her thing, you know, and so the whole way over there, we never had our own car, but we was in a car, we on the way over there, I'm complaining the whole way until we pull up to the house. This guy was a pediatrician, which meant he was a child's doctor, which meant he had some what? Homeboy had a whole lot of money. So when we got out the car, I looked at the house, I said, hold on, Mama, this might be all right, okay? Walked in, y'all, straight up. Walked into the house, I'm like, what's this? He's like, it's furniture. I'm like, man, we ain't never had this. It's nice. He said, if you think this is something, go up the stairs and make a left. I'm like, we got stairs, right? Go up the stairs, make a left. I got my own room. He hooked it up with bunk beds, brand new clothes, toys, all of it's mine. I go downstairs, give my mother some dap, like, good looking, Mama, you hooked it up this time, right? You know, so I loved it. And for the first couple of years of their marriage, everything was good. I checked in to private school. The kids knew how to talk proper. I came to school like, what's up? Everybody else was like, hello, how are you? You know, I was lost, but I was loving what was going on. You guys, for 3 years, everything was perfect. But one day, I'm in my bed in my room. I hear screams coming out of my mom and my dad's room. Right? When Mom comes into my room at my bed, turns her face to the side, she got 2 bloody marks coming down the side of her face. It's the first time I realized that my stepfather was beating on my mother. So I looked at my mom, I said, Mom, we got to get out of here. You know, if this is what's happening, we got to get out of here. My mom says, no, we can't leave because he promised that if we leave, he's going to kill me and he's going to kill you. So my mom started having us sleep in the downstairs bedroom. It was a huge house. Downstairs bedroom, she would lock both doors on the side of this bedroom, and she would stay up every night holding me in her arms to make sure that he didn't come after me. I remember one day getting into a place where I was like, you know what? I got this, Mama. You know, I went out, you know, with my little self, and I'm like, I'm going to set this dude straight. So I was like, what's up, man? You know? With my little voice. And he looked at me and he was like, you know what? You need to fall and play your position. Long story short, you guys, he went from putting his hands on my mama to putting his hands on me. You're looking at a person who went through 4 years of being physically abused, also went through 4 years of being sexually molested. 2 different molesters, both of the molesters who were men who lived in my house during the periods of my molestation. So I grew up in an area where I was peeing in the bed because I was scared to wake folk up, where I was lying and trying to cover everything that was going on with me. That was my life. So I figured maybe if I go to the streets, I'll get some protection. My neighborhood, if you guys know anything about Los Angeles, I grew up in a neighborhood dictated by a gang called Rolling 40s Crip. I grew up on 46 and Butlong. Okay, I lived on the neighborhood side. So orientation into my neighborhood was generally a lot of violence. And one of those guys who was getting jumped into that neighborhood, his orientation was to stab me. So I got stabbed twice in my neighborhood. I was walking across the street with my bike, trying to make it to the other side of the street. Guy walks up across me, says his neighborhood. Before I know it, I feel something go into my back. But when it goes into my back, the knife gets stuck in the bone of my back, right? So it hurts, but it's not all the way in. He snatches the knife out and then stabs me again, this time a little bit deeper. I fall down, blood's coming down my shirt, and this is how I discovered, I'm gonna tell you guys how I got my name that I have today. I fell down. Blood's coming down my back. I go in, I tell my stepfather, look, I've been stabbed. The man was so worried about me talking about the molestation and the abuse, he refused to take me to the hospital. So went into the cabinet, got a needle and a thread, and stitched me back together himself. That got infected. And when that got infected, you got green stuff growing out of your back. I went to the hospital, I take off my shirt. When I take off my shirt, they see the blue, black, purple marks from me getting beat in my chest. That's my first time getting a social worker. That's my first time to getting help. When you guys hear my last name today, my last name is Lee-Johnson. Lee is my biological name. Johnson is my adopted name. My social worker, whose name is Ron Johnson, rest in peace, later on adopted me as his son. Okay, got me back in school. I had failed out of the 10th grade, not because I couldn't do, but because I just reached a place where I no longer wanted to do. Dropped out of school, he got me back in school. I started taking my 10th grade over during my 11th grade school year. I finished both years with a 3.8 GPA, all right? Y'all can clap for that, that's pretty good, all right? I know it's like real serious. Y'all like, damn, what's wrong with him? Okay, went through all of that. So the reality is that I made it through what I had to go through. Ooh, just playing with the shades, huh? All right? So I made it through what I had to go through, okay? But what happened is that although I made it out of that situation, how many of you know that a painful situation can still be inside you? Okay? Still be inside you. So the reality is I got a 3.8 GPA. I'm about to graduate from high school, and in the midst of that, I had a homeboy that came to me and said, hey man, will you hold this gun for me? Because I went to Dorsey High School, a lot of violence used to happen at that school, so I was gonna hold the gun for him. Long story short, you guys, I had that gun in my locker. I was a fighter, I was not a shooter. I had never shot a gun. But I had that gun, he put it in my locker, and one day they announced they're about to do locker checks. So I'm like, I gotta go get this gun or they're gonna think this gun is mine. I get the gun, I put it in my bag, I walk out the hallway, and I'm walking down the hall, see one of my homegirls, I give her a hug, and as I hug her, the gun fell out my bag, okay? She just casually says, oh, Charles, you dropped your gun. I'm like, stupid, you don't say it like that, right? I'm so dumb. Remember, I ain't never held a gun before. I reach down, pick up the gun, I come up, and my finger is around the trigger. When I come up, a teacher is in front of me, Mr. Gordon, and it looks like I'm trying to shoot him. So Mr. Gordon's like, you know, don't shoot me. He's running down the hall. I'm chasing him like, Mr. Gordon, come here, come here. Come here, Mr. Gordon, right? Long story short, you guys, 17 years old, 3.8 GPA. Guess who gets arrested? I get 10 years. 10 years. Possession of a gun, never discharged it, but 10 years is what I'm facing for possession of this gun on a school campus, even though it never discharged. Now, where's my man who talked about praying? You pray when you're in jail. Everybody does. I don't care how hard they pretend to be. When you get locked up, you start praying really hard. And, you know, I prayed in there, you know, God, if you get me out of this, I promise I'll change my life. You know, I was really pursuing that path. You guys, I was fortunate to not have to do a year of those 10 years. The guy whose gun it was caught at Dorsey High School. There were 2 armed robberies that had been committed with that gun. So I would have not only had the possession, but the armed robberies that were tied to that gun. I was fortunate to get out, got a second chance on probation, graduated high school in Dorsey High School, went to Atlanta, Georgia, did not have the grades, but begged to get into Morehouse College, was there for 4 years, graduated with a degree in sociology, came back, went to Egypt, stayed in Egypt for a little over a month, came back, began to work at a company that today I'm the CEO of. I enrolled at UCLA, got my master's in social work and public policy. Later on, went to United, got my doctorate degree, came back, continued to run that agency, and today you're looking at somebody who runs a multi-million-dollar corporation doing business all throughout the world. All right? So that's why I feel good to be here, y'all, because I could have been some other places. Here's the reality. The reality is that I share my story with you guys because everyone in here has a story. And although your story may not be my story, I know that there's others of you guys who are here who've had to grow up without your father or without your mother. There are some of you guys who are in here who, like me, I've got cut marks that are on my wrist from trying to cut myself when I was 14 years old. There are some of you guys who are like me who went through breakdowns, having to see psychiatrists, having to go through multiple social workers, having to deal with family drama, having to wonder if my life is going to become anything. And I have shown up today as the last speaker of the day to tell you that you can transform every mess into your message if you keep on standing. Here's the reality. The reality is that we all go through stuff. Black, white, red, brown, yellow, don't matter where you come from, urban, suburban, rural, we all go through stuff. The key is to keep on going. I want you to look at your neighbor and tell them, keep on going. I see some of you with tears in your eyes. I see some of you with tears in your eyes, and you know what? That's all right. That's all right. I love the young lady who introduced up here who said that this is a safe space. This is what I needed. In fact, my life turnaround happened right after I got out of jail. I was at a youth summit on Crenshaw Boulevard. It was a summit just like this. And there was a guy who was up speaking, and I felt like he was telling my story. And as he was talking and I began to identify with what he was saying, something in me said, if he can change his life, then so can I. If he can be different than what's happened in his family, then so can I. That has literally moved me, you guys, to being able to dictate my own future. I've worked in the White House for 2 years. Today, I own property not only here. I just sold my property in New York, property in Atlanta. I got 2 houses in the Bahamas, able to drive whatever I want to drive, work whenever I want to work. It's a big boss life. Look at your neighbor, tell him, ballin'. Okay, ballin'. All right, it feels good. It feels good to live that kind of life. When I was younger, I never imagined that I'd make it here. I want to give you guys just 4 things today of what I want you to walk with, of what it takes in order to transform your mess into a message. Number one is that you got to understand this. Life is hard for everybody. I want everybody to say life is hard. Life is hard. All right, that sounds pretty good for a little whisper. All right, let's try it again. Life is hard. Life is hard. Let me tell you what my adopted father told me. He said it like this. He said, life is hard from your womb to your tomb, from the time you check in to the time you check out, from your cradle to your grave, life is a struggle. But as long as you are still alive, you still have a chance. Here's the reality for everybody in here, that no matter what your family has gone through, no matter what happened to your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, or you, as long as you are still breathing, you still have a chance. And that's one of the things that I had to know, is that life is hard for everybody, not just a few people. Even for the adults in this room, life has not been easy for them. In fact, one of the things that qualifies you to work with young people is having a hard life, because you come to understand what they're going through. Everybody goes through. So what do you have to have in order to make it through that? Number one, you've got to have a determination within yourself that says, I love me. I love me. When I woke up this morning, I look in the mirror, I looked twice and was like, dang, you look good. Okay? That's me. I love me. Everyone in here has to love the skin that you're in. Until you find love for you, you won't be able to receive anybody else's love for you. You won't be able to receive other people who see good things in you until you see it for yourself. I want everybody to repeat after me. I love me. Try it again. I'm watching you right here. I'm going to come down off the stage, okay? As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it right now. All right? I love me. All right, here it is. Here it is. When you love you, y'all looking like, dang, I'm going to call y'all out if I don't hear you saying something. All right? When you love you, then you understand that the most valuable thing you have is yourself. Nobody can break that, no matter what they do to you, no matter what they say to you, okay? Because whenever you are going to a place of value, you will always have haters. Anybody got haters in the room? All right, if they sit next to you, don't look at them, okay? All right, here it is. Haters, H-A-T-E-R-S, stands for having anger towards everyone reaching success. Okay, get some snaps on that. All right, and snaps on that. Snaps on that. All right, let me get that one more time, because y'all need to tweet that. You need to Instagram that. All right, you need to put that out there. Let all your haters know. Now I understand you. Okay, here it is. Haters, H-A-T-E-R-S, stands for having anger towards everyone reaching success. Whenever you are destined for a place of value, other people will come along to try to take you down. Here's the reality. Y'all real quiet. Every time y'all get quiet, I'm going to share a story. I used to have a friend of mine. I used to go to school with him. Y'all probably too young to remember this, but he drove a car called a Pinto. Y'all know what Pintos are? Okay, some adults in the room. His name was Mercedes, but he drove a Pinto. All right? Wasn't a good look. All right? So my man at Dorsey High School, he would pull up to the front of the school in his Pinto, named Mercedes, okay? He had what we call seat foolers on the inside, which meant that if you open up the door, wasn't no seat really in there, boy was sitting on a milk crate, okay? He had a show-enough bucket of a car. But for this car, he would pull up to the front of school, get out, we would crack jokes on him every single day, and it never seemed to bother him. Said, man, Mercedes, man, you driving a Pinto? We would go on and on the jokes. He never was bothered, walking to the school, never fazed him. One day after we graduated, showed up to a place where all of us were meeting, and Mercedes said, man, after we finish meeting, I want y'all to come outside to the parking lot. What did Mercedes have? Homeboy had him a brand new Mercedes. Had his leg kicked up, had his chin in his hand, on his car, looking at us like, yeah, I got it, right? I was like, dang, Mercedes, you finally got a Mercedes, man. You finally lived up to your name. And the big smile he had on his face disappeared. I said, man, what's wrong with you? He said, man, my mother always told me I was a Mercedes, even when I was in that Pinto. It's not this Mercedes that makes me. I make the Mercedes simply because I'm sitting in it. Here's the reality, is that when you love who you are, it doesn't matter what you're going through, it matters what you're going to. Ooh, yeah. All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, so here's the reality. The reality is that while you're sitting here, you might feel like your life is a Pinto situation, but I'm still Mercedes quality. Look at your neighbor, tell him, I'm a Mercedes. Look, she said, I'm a Bentley. Forget that. I'm a Bentley, okay? I'm taking it higher. The reality is that you are sitting next to a person of value. And when you feel that about yourself, you do not let other people come into your sphere and treat you less than what you know you are. Can I say something completely different than what I wanted to say? I have your permission?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I was waiting for you. You kind of hesitated, though. All right? All right, so here it is. What time is it? Let me make sure. Okay, we're good. All right, listen. One of the things you got to check, I wasn't going to say this, but something lead me to say this. You got to check the relationships you're in. Some of y'all think y'all in love right now. You know, y'all remember when we was a little bit younger, we used to write those letters, I like you, do you like me, check yes, check no, or maybe so, right? You know, you say, you know, you kind of see somebody, it's like, dang, I'm kind of into them. Let me tell you this, the thing that will take your life to the next level quicker than anything are good relationships. And the thing that will tear your life up quicker than anything are bad relationships. Watch this. I was in a Ritz-Carlton, Laguna Niguel. I'm sitting down next to the fireplace in Laguna Niguel, looks over the ocean. I'm sitting there chilling. I'm talking to a guy who walks up to me, and as I'm chilling in there, he starts talking. I come to discover this dude sitting next to me, he's worth $25 million. Right? I'm telling him what I want to do, and he says, you know what? I think I can fund your business idea. Good connection or bad connection? Y'all don't even know what the dude does, right? But you're like, yeah, it's a good connection, 25 million. Okay, all right? It was a good connection. It was a good connection. So I followed that. Examine this. I sent my daughter off to college. She hooks up with a guy who's an up-and-coming rapper in Carson. He's got videos that are online. He's got music that's selling everywhere. She falls in love with him, but he's here illegally. He's here from another place. And she says, you know what, in order to help you naturalize and to be here, I'm going to marry this guy, and I'm going to have this kid. So she drops out of college. I wish he was here so she could hear y'all. Ooh. Okay, you know, okay. Drops out of college. She marries him, gives birth to my grandson. I love him. It's beautiful, 5 years old, okay, lives with me. But I watched the dreams of my daughter, who had way more than what I grew up with. I watched all of that fall apart. Bad relationship. I want to warn you guys, be careful of the folk you connect yourself to. There's an old saying that if you walk in the rain, you will always get wet. If you play in the mud, you will always get dirty. And if you run with dogs, you will always catch fleas. Look at your neighbor, tell him, watch who you with. All right? Look, he's like, man, I got to get rid of you. You the problem, okay? You the problem, all right? So here's the reality. Here's the reality. Reality is that I have to love me so much that I surround myself with other people who are going where I want to go. Follow me in this. Follow me in this. All right? I was always tell people that it's all right to be a copycat as long as you copy the right cat. Right? It's all right to be a copycat as long as you copy the right cat. Gonna lead me to my next point. Next point. Watch this. If you're going to be successful, number one, you got to be able to know how to love yourself. But number two, you got to know how to never give up. Watch this. I've been molested, been abused, stabbed, locked up. I had all these reasons in order to give up. Watch how my turnaround came. My turnaround came from a history teacher, Mr. Berger, at Dorsey High School. He's Jewish. I'm black, of course. I think last time I checked. All right, so I'm black, all right? And one day he tells me, hey, Charles, I need you to stay after class. I'm like, dang, man, all right. So I stay after class. I stay after class, he pulls up my sleeve. He sees the cut marks on my wrist. He's like, man, what's going on with you? I saw this as I walked by your desk. And I looked at him, I had tears in my eyes, and I'm like, man, don't mess with me. And I didn't say it that kindly. I said some other words. And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to keep coming after you. I need to know what's going on with you. And I said, man, you can't handle what's going on with me. And he said, try me, talk to me. And I said something that I don't even know where it came from, but it just came out of me. I was like, you know what, man, I'm black, you white. There's no way you're going to be able to identify with what I've gone through. And this was the first time I realized that, you know what, skin color really don't matter when somebody really cares about you. I needed somebody to care about me. I was in that place. It didn't matter what color they was. I needed somebody to care. And he looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, I care about you. Trust me. You guys, I opened up my life to him in that classroom. It changed my life. And one of the things that Mr. Berger did, he referred me to all the, I was mad at him at first, okay? Because now I got all these extra people in my life, okay? Social worker, therapist, psychiatrist, okay? I got all these extra meetings I got to go to. But he saved my life. And one of the things he said to me, said, no matter what you go through, don't you ever give up. All right, y'all, quiet. I got to tell another story. Quiet, I got to tell another story. Here it is. There's an old story about this bulldog that climbed into a fence. And when this bulldog climbed into a fence, this man who had 2 hunting dogs, he stood back and he said, you know what? This bulldog has climbed into my yard. My 2 hunting dogs are going to beat up that bulldog. So he stood back. He tried to wait to see what his hunting dogs would do. The bulldog walked in. He told his hunting dog, sick him. They went and they beat up the bulldog. Bulldog limped out the gate, walked out. The man said, that bulldog ain't going to never come back. Next day, guess who came back? Bulldog crawls right up under the fence, walks in the yard again. The dogs beat up the bulldog again. Bulldog limps out. He said, I definitely know that bulldog ain't never coming back. 3rd day, bulldog comes back again. Walks into the yard. The hunting dogs look at the bulldog. Bulldog looks at the hunting dogs. And the hunting dogs drop their heads, and the bulldog took over the yard. Right? The bulldog took over the yard because he continued to show up. Here's the reality, y'all, is that you got to be a bulldog. And the bulldog says that even when I don't feel like it, I keep showing up. I keep showing up to school. I keep showing up to care about me. I keep showing up to the groups I got to do. I keep showing up. And when you keep showing up, good things always fall in line for you. I want you to look at your neighbor and tell him, you must be a bulldog. All right. I got bulldogs in the house. You must be a bulldog. Got bulldogs in the house. Watch this. Got to keep showing up. The company that provided services for my family, today I'm the CEO of that company. So you guys can look up my company, National Family Life and Education Center, or just Google my name, Charles Lee Johnson, and you'll see all the places where I've been and what I do. Today, I get to work with every entertainer, almost every rapper you can imagine, from the Drakes to the Weezys to the 50 Cents. I get to be on the same platforms with these folks. What we all have in common is that we didn't give up. Meet Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne got barely through the 6th grade. His mother tells him to begin selling drugs. He tests and has one of the highest IQs, okay, of anyone who's ever been tested. But he's never graduated from high school. Mother forced him into a level of selling drugs. What did he do? He kept going. Bulldog. 50 Cent shot multiple times. Mother killed. Father absent. Raised by the streets, kicked out of his grandmother and grandfather's home. What do we have in common? Kept going. Bulldog. Bulldog. You take it on any side. Michael Jordan was kicked off of the basketball team. He was told, you're not good enough. He was made the water boy in 9th grade. He said he sat there holding everybody's water, studying the playbook, and said, one day I'm going to be on the team. He goes down as one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest. Oprah Winfrey was told she's too ugly for TV. Oprah makes about $200 million a year. Look at your neighbor, tell him, Bulldog. All right? Steve Jobs dropped out of college. Okay? Fired from his own company before he comes back later and says, you know what? I believe that I can take a computer and move it and put it inside of somebody's pocket and call it an iPod. Translate into an iPhone, translate into an iPad, translate into an iWatch, right? Bulldog, keep showing up. If you want to win in life, you have to keep showing up. I want you to look at your neighbors, tell them, keep showing up. Keep showing up. All right, here it is. Here it is. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. I want y'all to remember this. Do not sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. And guess what? Most of it is small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. All right, y'all quiet? Another story? All right, here it is. There's this old mule. I was in Paris, California. In fact, I was there just before I got here. I was in Paris, and in Paris, they got a lot of farmland that's out there. There was an old mule, a donkey, that was sitting out there. And would y'all imagine that the donkey began talking to me? What did it say, huh? All right, so here, watch this. Donkey says that you see me today, I'm walking around on the ground. Donkey said there was a day when the farmer tried to get rid of me. In order to get rid of me, the farmer dug a hole in the ground, threw the donkey in the ground, and expected the donkey to die. But every day the farmer came to look in that hole, and when he looked in that hole, that donkey was still there with them big old eyes looking up at him. So the farmer said, all right, I'm going to take trash and I'm going to dump it on the mule's head. And every day that trash would fall on the mule's head, and the mule would just shake it off and step on top of the trash. And every day would come with more trash. It would fall on the donkey's head, and he would shake it off and step on top of the trash, until soon there was so much trash in the pit that it raised the level of the ground, and the donkey was able to walk out. Here's what the donkey says to you and I today, is that no matter how much trash people dump on your head, shake it off, put it under you, and walk out of the hole that you might be in. Look at your neighbor, tell him you got to be able to shake it off. That's more than just a Taylor Swift song, y'all, all right? You got to be able to shake it off. Shake it off. When you don't sweat the small stuff, it looks like this. Not too long ago, the other day, I'm driving, and as I'm driving my car, there's a 14-year-old guy. He's got red all the way from his feet all the way up. I'm in Los Angeles, outside of a neighborhood called the Jungles. All right? This guy's obviously a blood. He's got a red bandana around his face. At a certain time, I was a Crip. He walks in front of my car, looks at me, raises his shirt with a gun in his waistband, and he says, "What's up?" All right? Now, if I'm sweating the small stuff, what do I do? Right? Freak out? Yeah, run them over. Right? All right? Could have run them. Okay? I could have ran them over. All right? What else? I could have got out my car, right? Confronted him. 14 years old, man, little kid. You trying to confront me? I'm a grown man. I could have let my ego get the best of me. But you know what? Not sweating the small stuff. I looked at him. I said, "Hey, man, you got it." And he looked at me and said, I thought so. Like, dang, man, you really punking me, right? But I said, all right, man, you got it. And he just kept on walking. And you know what? I'm sitting in my $90,000 car. I'm still going back to my house. I'm still going back to see my family. I'm still alive because I wasn't sweating the small stuff. I want to say that to all of you guys here. We have a lot of things that we allow to get under our skin that really we have to let roll off of us. That trash that falls on us that we got to learn how to shake it off. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to agree with you. And when they don't, shake it off, step on top of it, let it raise your level, and walk out of the hole that they're trying to put you in. All right? Let me give you my last one. My last one. Gotta have purpose. Gotta have purpose. My purpose today is not to make money. I make money, but my purpose is not to make money. My purpose is to help other people who are just like me. And because I work to help other people that were just like me, the Creator, God, however you want to recognize it, takes care of me. I want you to watch this story since y'all quiet. All right? I fly in airports a lot. In fact, I'm on my way to Jamaica. So by this time next week, I'll be on the beach in Jamaica and be working out there. I love it, okay? So we'll be out there. Here's one of the realities. Every time I'm in an airport, I always find out that whenever they design a runway in the airport, they always design the runway to go against the way in which wind generally blows into that airport. Never made sense to me because I always thought the wind should be behind the plane to help the plane to go faster so the plane could take off. But the key for the plane is to never stop, never slow down, never quit, but to press against the wind. And the wind tries to stop the plane picks up even more speed and presses against the wind until soon the wind that is coming against it moves under it, allows for lift to take place, and allows for the plane to fly. I share that with all of you guys in here because all of you are on the runways of your lives. And as you're on that runway, many different winds will blow against you. Sometimes those winds are your family. Sometimes those winds are your finances. Sometimes those winds are your friends. Sometimes those winds are how you feel about yourself. Sometimes those winds are just where you are in life. I want to tell you guys the same thing they say to that plane. Do not stop, do not slow down, and do not quit. You have a purpose. Your purpose is to take off. Press against what's coming against you. My promise to all of you is that the same things that are against you today will be the same things that are under you tomorrow, allowing you to fly and reach the great heights that God has destined you to reach. Here's the beauty of this room. Black, white, red, brown, and yellow. All different colors, all different family styles, all different socioeconomic classes, but we're all here at the Youth Summit, elevating ourselves, looking to make our lives better. Press against whatever's against you. Go back to your school. Encourage others who are going through it, who you know are thinking about suicide or thinking about what's going on in their family. Encourage them to press, and you press with them. Take them to a counselor. Take them to a therapist. I could not heal myself. I needed somebody else to grab me and to lead me where I needed to go. But when I did, it took me to a place to where the things that were against me are now under me, and I can fly and reach great places. The same is true with you guys. One love. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to share with you guys today. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I want to do something that normally doesn't happen with the keynote, at least, if I can indulge in some questions and answers. Can I do that?
That's what we were planning.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. Let's do it.
Do you want to go ahead? Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Lee Johnson?
Do someone on Jackie's side of the room first, and then we'll switch back and forth. Actually, you know what? You already had your hand up.
I'm going to go up so I can see.
So how would you suggest we help someone that doesn't want help?
So that's always the tough thing, is how do you help someone who seemingly doesn't want to be helped? I'll tell you this, folks who say that they don't want help, do want help, they just want to know they're not going to be abandoned in getting help. So one of the ways that you help people like that is you continue to stay after them. Let me tell you guys this. I had a friend of mine who I knew was in trouble, and I didn't say anything, okay? But I knew the position that he was in. Good friend of mine. That friend, shortly after he shared with me what he was going through, was shot in his head, killed. And I lived with that of serious regret that I should have said something. So I'm going to tell you guys this, even though it's your friend or they might think that you're making it a bigger deal than what it is, tell another adult. So that's one of the first things that I would say. Tell another adult and stay after that friend. You are not betraying their confidence. You might be keeping them alive. That's not snitching. Snitching is for the streets. Okay? Snitching is not that you went and said that, you know what, so-and-so is going through this and I think I need to help them. That's not snitching. That's caring about somebody. And we have to care about people enough to find the adults and say, you know what, this person is going through this. Maybe you can reach out to her or maybe you can reach out to him. That's one. Number two, stay after that person. Keep encouraging them, keep a watch on them, and keep trying to drive them to get the help. Eventually, you'll win over. Okay? Because they'll get tired of you. They'll go see somebody just because they're sick of you. Okay? And that's good enough in order to get some people some help. So even when they don't look like they want help, oftentimes they do. My defense mechanism was to make people think, I don't want you to help me. That was my defense. That kept everybody away from me. But the reality is that I sat in class, my head was down, my hood was on. Okay? That was my normal get down. Okay? But the reality is that when you have good people who stay after you, it actually changes your life and it can save you. I hope that helps. Awesome. Awesome.
Are there any questions?
Good. I love those hands back there.
How did you get over feelings of self-doubt, like as you were developing your own companies and going to school, kind of like a big deal?
How did I say it one more time?
Get over feelings of like self-doubt.
Feelings of self-doubt. How did I get over that? So I had two things. I heard that you guys, that there was a self-defense presentation that was here earlier. Is that correct? Okay. And so I was fighting in the streets. So one of the things that ended up happening to me, my adoptive father put me in martial arts classes, jiu-jitsu classes. And in jiu-jitsu classes, it was like, you know, they would let you fight. I'm like, dang, we get to fight like, and nobody stops it? You know, I like that, okay? So I got involved in something and I got really good at it. So I got really good at jiu-jitsu, and doing that made me feel good. The other thing was surrounding myself with other people who were doing stuff with their life. I had this guy that I got connected with. His name was Luke Fuller. And when I was younger, he had moved out to Moreno Valley. This guy was a really good guy, though. He was like super smart. And although he was a nerd, and I was more like with the gangster side, I liked being his friend. I really liked being his friend. And being connected to him, it introduced me to another side, right? Here was the side, is that you can be smart and be cool, right? It's not one or the other. We oftentimes think that to be cool is to be dumb, right? Trust me, it's going to switch later on in life when you got a job and they unemployed. Okay, and you're like, dang, who's popular now? Okay, you know, that's how life works. So the reality is that surrounding yourself with the right kind of people can lift you out of that self-doubt, can give you that encouragement, and then finding something that you're good at, right? And we all have different things. It can lift us out of that place of doubting ourselves, you know, anxiety, worry, depression. It can lift us into greater places, and that's what helped me. Having the right people and being involved in good activities. All right? That's my man. Yes, sir.
Quick question. This is pretty much personal, but like for you, what's your passion? What keeps you going for life right now until today?
This right here. This right here. Of every meeting I have today, my last meeting tonight will be at 10:30. Of my last engagement. But this has been the one that's been on my calendar that I've been waiting for. It's this. And the reason why this is my passion is because this is where my turnaround happened. It happened when I was at a summit, sitting around a table, initially did not want to go, didn't want to be there. It was taking forever. but I end up hearing some stuff that really changed my life. So being able to look at the next generation, when I look on TV and I see what's happening in DC, or Parkland students who are marching and protesting and advocating and agitating, when I see all the different things that are happening around, and these are young people who are doing it, that encourages me. I love that. And so that's my passion, is seeing that we're creating change in this nation. And it's starting with you guys. It's starting with you guys. So for me, that's what drives me. Yeah, y'all should clap for yourselves, man. That's what it's all about. The nation is going to be different because of you guys. It's going to be different because of you guys. Most of our generations, my generation and older, grew up very segregated. But when I look across this room, y'all mixed in of all different skin colors. That's a difference. The music is shared by all different cultures, all different backgrounds. Stuff is coming together. So on the news, we sometimes think that things are worse than what they are. But things are actually improving. There are things that are actually getting better. And a lot of that is because of the movement that you guys are making. You guys are the leaders. If you had a youth summit, that means you're a leader. Somebody saw something in you that generated for you to be here. Ask yourself, how many other people that you know who should have been here today, right? Who needed to hear some of the stuff or receive some of the stuff that's here. And then you put that with, why did you get selected? Why are you the one? You're the one because there's a purpose for you. You're the one because somewhere down the line, you're going to pay it forward. You're here in order to receive something, to give to somebody else. That's my passion, my brother, and I pray that you take that and walk with that. Pay it forward. Don't just leave here today and go back to your life as usual. Everything you post on IG should be connected to what's going on here. Everything on my handles, when I get ready to leave here, before I got up here, I was already posting. All right? When I leave here, I'm going to be posting about being here. Share with somebody else of something that you received of value today. It'll change somebody else's life, including yours. All right? I know I saw another hand that was there. Sorry, I see my man right here. He's got his hand. Okay, there's one over there. Okay.
Hi.
Hey.
I heard you say you were a Crip once, and I wanted to know when you got into that and how you got in and how you got out of it.
Got in it because I was scared. Got out of it because I left. Okay? Got into it because I was scared, not because I was tough. I got into it because I'm looking at everybody else in my neighborhood, and these guys are all hanging with each other. And I'm like the only one who's kind of isolated. Me and my mom at the time, and, you know, they're out doing things. So I just kind of wandered into the group. And as I wandered into the group, they started saying, well, this is who we are. If you want to hang with us, this is what you have to do. So my first fight was not because I was really mad at anybody. My first fight was because there was some older guy who said, go beat up that kid. I want all four of y'all to go over there and beat him up until blood is coming out. You know, stupid stuff. But we're trying to impress him, so we go off to do that. So I became affiliated with that neighborhood by making decisions because I wanted somebody to protect me. If anything goes wrong, I know that these guys will watch after me. Here's the reality. When I got to be 16, 17, I saw that a lot of those guys were getting locked up. A lot of those guys, some of them were dead. Today, when I go back to my neighborhood, you'll see people who used to be the strongest, the best, the fastest, hooked on drugs. I watched that happen to my father. I watched that happen to my uncles. I watched that happen to my grandmother. I didn't want to be that one. I had to find a way out. And my way out was when I found out about this whole college thing and that you could go and you could actually live there, so I could leave my neighborhood and live on campus. I was like, I'm going after that. I left LA, went to Atlanta, and it was a culture shock, but a complete change from my life. So most people feel like they can never get out the gang because they're stuck in that neighborhood, right? I've done too much. But if you leave, you can get out. Unfortunately, for most people, the only way they leave is by going to jail. And that doesn't have to be the way that you get out of the gang life. right? You can do something positive, and you're just in a different world. You're in a different world, and those folks don't cross over into that world, and you're not really in theirs. I hope that helps. Thank you for that question. Y'all real quiet, boy. Looking like... All right, come on, listen up. Yes, sir.
So when you were talking, you mentioned that there were two people who were pretty instrumental in changing your life. Your history teacher
Yes.
and Mr. Johnson, your adopted father.
Yes.
And, you know, it seems like these people, when they came along, they were great mentors from what I'm assuming, and I think I would be right in doing so. So I'm in a situation right now where, like a lot of us in here, where we're about to go off to college, and a lot of us away from our families. How would you recommend going about finding someone who's a competent mentor, not someone that we kind of think is good to like model ourselves by, but what are some good indications of someone who we could follow in their footsteps?
That's a phenomenal question, my brother. That's a phenomenal question. Yeah, y'all, let's clap for the question. The question is good. How many of you guys are seniors? Dang, that's a lot of y'all. Y'all about to be broke. Dang. Okay. All right. You about to be broke. You don't even know. You don't even know, but you about to be broke. Okay, so here it is in order to make it, in order to have that right role model, there's a couple of things you should look for. If you don't have nobody to connect with, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my cards here today. So I have my cards that are here. If you don't have anybody else that you're connected to, I want to make sure that you guys can stay connected to me in some way. I'm very bad at answering the phone, but if you email me, okay, you'll get me, all right? And I'll be able to respond to you. You got to connect with folk who are where you want to go, okay? That's number one. So when I wanted to become a millionaire, the first thing that I had to do was find another person who was a millionaire and find out how do you do it. When I got onto $1 million, I was like, okay, how do you get 10 million? That's the path I'm on now. Okay? How do you get, double digits in millions? How do you get there? That became the path of what I wanted to. So you always find someone, no matter how old you are, you find somebody who is where you want to go, and you stick close to them. You learn their behaviors, okay? Number two, you gotta find people who not only have success by the world, you gotta find people who have good character. People who are honest. People who know how to commit. People who are loyal. People who operate with good integrity. You gotta have people who have that good character. When you find that becomes a person that says, I want to follow out there. Now, I have different people for different things in my life. I have some people who are mentors when it comes to money. I have other people who are mentors when it comes to my family. Okay? I was with a couple this past week that have been married for 52 years. I'm like, yo, y'all role models for me. Okay? So when I'm going through something with my family, I go to them. They've done it. They've weathered every kind of storm and stuck together. I want to make sure that I'm with them. So when it comes to my career, you guys heard that I'm a professor at Cal Baptist University. When I decided that I wanted to go on that track, that was something as well. So now, Cal Baptist University, I have my company that I run, NFLEC. I've got Charles Lee Johnson and Associates. I pastor in Corona. So I've got all these different businesses that I have to run. I'm at the top of that. I have to find other people who lead in business. So don't be scared of sometimes we try to find one person that's everything, and you don't. You find different people who are good leaders in the areas that you need them, and you attach to them. You attach to them. What I mean by attaching to them, if you're a senior, one of the things I would do right now, before my senior year is up, is I would write a letter, write a text to anybody who's in your life who you want to mentor you, and let them know, as I get ready to bridge into young adulthood, I want you to hold me accountable. Can you meet with me once a month? Now, I have a group that I do that with today. Let me tell you the kind of things, though. So be careful. If you select me to be a mentor, I require a lot of people that I mentor. One of the groups that I have today, for anybody who's 21 years old or older, if they're in a group with me to be mentored, you have to, by the end of the year, raise $1,000 in your savings account or I drop you out of the group. Right? Because one of the things that I teach them is about financial literacy. So you gotta work, you gotta be able to generate money. You have to have a plan for how you're going. So everything is building and every mentor is different, okay? But for me, hold me accountable, meet with me once a month, okay? And have that hooked up, you have that with different people, you're gonna be great. So you go after that and attach it. I went on the Forbes list and I wrote billionaires and asked them if they would mentor me. Only one person contacted me back, right? But at least I got to spend a day with him. I don't talk with him all the time, but I got to spend one day with him. He flew from Boston to Los Angeles to have 4 hours with me. Then he asked me a question. I'm gonna tell you guys this, I usually don't tell people this. He asked me, he said, you know what, I'm ready to write you a check right now for $10 million. If I gave you $10 million, he said, what would you do with it? And I was like, shoot, man, I named all the stuff I would do with $10 million. And he looked at me and he said, you're a good guy, but I can't trust you with the money because right now you will have spent all the money I gave you. He said, I was hoping you would have an answer of how you turn this 10 million into 20 million. He said, next time when you have an answer like that, then maybe you'll get the money. He ain't never offered the money since, though. Okay? So that's the reality of how it happens. I wasn't ready. I missed out. So it kind of goes that way.
We have time for one very short, brief question.
Sure.
So just one more. Maybe on this side.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I think you kind of already answered it sort of, but in the beginning you talked about obvious good and bad connections, and I wanted to see how I can help myself and others that are important in my life to tell the difference between them.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. And so what I always do, like I tell my daughter, you know, my daughter who I gave you guys an example of making a bad choice, what I tell her is every guy, before you go out with him from this point going forward, bring him to me first. She ain't been dating nobody, okay? So here's the reality, okay, is that when you want to check out the connection, take whoever that person is to an adult that you trust and ask them what they think about the relationship. Because a lot of times as adults, many of us, we've made the wrong connections and the right connections. And I can look at certain people that my daughter has liked and say, he ain't the one. All right? He is not the one. And then I can look at other people and say, wow, that's a good friend. That's a really good friend. You may be falling out with her over this, but she's really good for you in this. So bring the person that you want to connect to other people that you trust and allow those people to kind of be an influence on whether you should pursue that relationship or leave it alone. Now, here's the flip side of that. When they give you their opinion, take it. Okay? Test it out, but take it. So if they say get away from that person, get away. Get away. A lot of times we'll ask for the opinion and then keep on doing what we want to do. All right? So trust that opinion. Our parents used to be cool. Parents used to be cool, but then they gave birth to you, okay? And they became not cool anymore. So trust your parents, man. Ask them, is this person all right? If they say, you know, that's cool, cool. If not, you may need to go another way or ask other people outside. You guys, thank y'all so much for allowing me to come and share with you guys. Take care. One love. Thank you.